Now, the trial over the November 2015 terror attacks here in Paris is resuming today. And after 5 weeks of testimony from victims and relatives, prosecutors are now turning to the defendants in the case. First among them is Salah Abdeslam. He's the sole surviving attacker from that night. Now, he was questioned today for over 2 hours in court, and our reporter Claire Paccalin was listening in. Claire, what can you tell us about the questioning of Abdeslam this afternoon?
Well, the aim of the questioning of Salah Abdeslam, who was believed to be the only surviving attacker of the Paris attacks. His brother Brahim attacked one of the cafes and blew himself up. Salah Abdeslam managed to get back to Brussels the following morning and was arrested a few months later. Today's questioning was not actually about the events of November 13th in Paris. It was also not about his religious faith. It was really about his personality. The idea is that the presiding judge and the rest of the courtroom needs to get an understanding of who he is and where he came from. So we got a bit of information about his childhood. He said that he had been a good child, obedient to his parents and his older brothers. He says that his teachers at school liked him. We also know that he got a job in the same company that his father worked for. He was an electrical engineer for the tram company in Brussels. He lost that job, though. He was let go when he was convicted of attempted robbery. And really from then, things started to unravel for him. He was unable to hold down a job. His professional life became very insecure. And of course, we know what happened on November 13th, 2015. He was then arrested a few months later in Brussels, and he has been in solitary confinement in prison ever since. Now, his lawyer, his defense lawyer, she asked him some questions about his conditions, the conditions of his detention, and he did say that it was very difficult. He's clearly not very happy with the situation he's in at the moment. He is seen as the prisoner, as the most watched prisoner in France, because he's not only in solitary confinement, he has 2 surveillance cameras in his cell. He's allowed to out in the morning for an hour and in the afternoon for an hour for a walk around an individual private courtyard, because he's not allowed to speak to other prisoners. His lawyer asked him what it was like. He said that it was closed in and that he couldn't see outside. At that point, the presiding judge, though, intervened and said, look, I've visited that courtyard. You can see the sky. Let's be clear about this. So there was a bit of back and forth about that. Salah Abdeslam's lawyer clearly trying to show that he's not living in any kind of comfort in this cell and that his conditions of detention are difficult. Another interesting point was when the presiding judge reminded him that he had complained earlier on in the first few days of the trial about his detention conditions. Salah Abdeslam said that he and the co-defendants were being treated like dogs. Salah Abdeslam had said that he had never complained about his detention and that was just not what he was like. He wasn't someone who liked to complain, but the presiding judge again reminding me, no, you did complain earlier on about your detention conditions and that these conditions are in place partly to prevent suicide. That's part of the reason that Salah Abdeslam has got these surveillance cameras, that they're there to prevent any issues and when he might be committing suicide. So the back and forth was fascinating between the defense lawyer and the presiding judge and Salah Abdeslam. Now the court has moved on and we're hearing from Mohammed Abrini, who is another co-defendant in this case. There were 14 physically present inside the courtroom.
All right, Claire Paccalin at the courthouse, as you said, really interesting today. There'll be more going on in the coming days as well. For the moment, though, thank you very much indeed.